that camera effect is 100% just a byproduct of the old camera that I'm using. So that's fun. Hi. Hello. We are. This is June 22nd. Is the date, or it was here on the East Coast, so about 15 minutes ago. And it's a notable day because June 22nd is when Quake 1 was officially released. Back in June 22nd, 1996. Which is 22 years ago. Which is insane. But still the best game ever, which is why we're okay, the best game ever. It's one of the best games ever. One of my top 5 games. So that's why we're gonna play it some tonight. We've been going through the Arcane Dimensions map/mod pack, and we're gonna basically keep doing that tonight. We're gonna take on. We have our list of progress here, and we're gonna work on AD Azad. I have no idea what that is, so. And maybe we'll talk a little bit about the history of Quake, I guess. I believe that this map is in the secondary hub. Which looks very cool. So it was AD Azad, right? Which is going to be a huge endeavor when we do it at some point. Tifuma. The realm of Enceladus. Enceladus. The realm of Enceladus. Enceladus. Okay. Kind of a Nepal's, like, mountains of Nepal sort of thing going on here. So this kind of, whoa, easy. Let's not fall off the side there. We played the end map, which ended up being kind of just a cool credits roll sort of thing for the people who worked on this project. It's kind of similar, at least in the giant chains and stuff, which is pretty cool. We have not experienced anything with this kind of color palette, though. This very chalky, white stone sort of thing. I guess they broke out of underneath there, which is pretty cool. Yeah, Quake's birthday. I have an interesting history with Quake, as you might imagine, given my obsession with it. / nostalgia for it. I had played a lot of Doom, which I think we talked about a little bit, but so I was very much in a level 3D. So I was very much a certified fanboy at that point of id Software and Romero and Carmack and what they were doing. I was also younger, you know, this is high school for me. Well, yeah, high school for me. And, yeah, that's fun. So yeah, I was, you know, really into Doom. I had done lots of modding and maps and stuff for it. I had done some online stuff. online back then being on a modem, through telephone lines at 2400 baud, which is very slow, but at the time felt awesome. You know, it was Doom was one of kind of the first formative games for me that really sort of exposed game development to me, because and Doom to an extent. I mean, Doom and Wolfenstein actually both because you know, you could do there was limited modding with Wolfenstein, but there was the unofficial, but there was still a map editor that was developed on like BBSs, you know, bulletin board services, which were basically before there was the internet. There were or the internet proper, there were servers that you could dial up into on your modem called BBSs, and you would call the number, you would log in, you know, with a handle usually, but no real authentication of any kind, just what you chose to call yourself in case you wanted to communicate with others. And you would have access to, you know, leave messages for others and download files and all that kind of stuff. You know, for a history of BBSs, search BBSs. Anyway, and yeah, there was little communities of people playing Wolfenstein and later Doom who made map editors. All the map editors that came out for these games were not released by the developers. There was no official, I don't believe, map editor for Doom or Quake or Wolfenstein. These were all made from the community, but they made the maps, at least in Doom and Quake, Doom and Wolfenstein, they made the map file formats very open, very. They did not attempt to obfuscate them, I don't believe. Whether or not that was just a choice, I don't recall. I think it was a choice. I think they wanted to foster a community, right? But when Quake was a huge deal because, you know, Doom was huge. Doom changed PC gaming in '94. There were countless Doom clones that came out. Games trying to use the Doom engine. Duke Nukem came out on its own. You know, kind of adding fuel to the fire for reasons good / bad, but whatever. It still has a place in the story. You know, so Doom was so big. Doom was was on everyone's computer. Everyone was playing it, and as I was saying, for me, it was because you were able to make maps for Wolfenstein and later Doom, and make mods for Doom, and change out, you know, there were so many total conversions for Doom. Like there was an aliens total conversion, which turned all the enemies to aliens. There was Barney, you could blow up Barney with a rocket launcher. You know, all these silly things. But the fact that doing, like, to be frank, like, being able to modify the files in Doom was not hard. They left them pretty open, and you know, it's not like they were deeply formatted and encoded, and you know, one guy had to crack it and he opened it up for everybody else. It was a pretty open format that people figured out pretty quickly. So that was kind of one of my first exposures to game development, because, you know, I got to mess around with the workings of Doom. You know, I got to see what went into making that game tick, and for, you know, a person who's 13, 14, that's a big deal, right? Like, you know, I had done, you know, some work in BASIC and some other very rudimentary programming languages before then, but a game like Doom seemed so so complex and so, you know, and for its time, it actually pretty was. It was pretty complex. But to have the ability to change parts of the game like that with a, you know, pretty small amount of learning of, you know, how the dot wad system worked, and how you could replace sounds, and how you could replace the pixels and the particle effects, and, you know, just you had access to almost all of it, and that really opened my eyes as to what you could do. You know, how these pieces fit together to make a game, and that kind of really sparked my imagination at that point. That is very much a reason why I do game development now, and have been a huge fan of the industry and followed the industry forever, basically ever since. Also, fuck this over. These others. Wow. So, I think it was 95-ish when. So it put out. Let me actually pull up the exact date of this because I'm actually now I'm curious. Let's see if they mention it in the wiki article. They do. Okay, so that was until early Feb. Okay, so I mean the hype for Quake, because, you know, it's the next big thing. There was I remember almost as if I'm holding it in my hands now, the article in PC Gamer that they did about Quake when I did a preview of it. It wasn't even, you know, a review. It was, hey, we got a glimpse of this thing that they're working on, and it had hyped it after the success of Doom, oh god, to be the first 3D first-person shooter. Fully 3D, everything is 3D. Because in Doom, the levels were what I think there's a better way of referring to it, but they're technically 2.5D. At least the engine at the time was 2.5D, because you the mouse look is a very indicative way of thinking about that. And all of the enemies, all the items, and all were sprites. I mean, they were not polygonal. They were just pictures. They were just textures that moved around the environment. I mean, to be fair, most of the geometry in Doom was 3D. It's just how you were able to look at it and move around it wasn't quite. You didn't have, you know, I couldn't do this in Doom. I could basically do this and do this in Doom in all directions, but, you know, you know, you could. I won't bore with details, but you can read about the development of Doom if you're curious. But anyway, so yeah, Quake was going to be and was the first fully 3D first-person shooter from the people who made Doom. Right now, that's a big deal. Ow, I didn't save it in a while. Wow, I haven't saved it in a long time. Wow. Yeah, see, I'm just yapping it up here. But that was a huge deal. You know, it was a huge deal to me, someone who had, at that point, you know, when I first heard about it, played so much Doom, modded Doom so much, played in, you know, was making my own maps, playing other WAD files that people had distributed, you know, was really getting into the culture of it. And then the guys who made Doom, who had done all this work, had become a household name to nerds alike, you know, burgeoning nerds such as myself, and older ones too. It wasn't just for kids. Like I didn't, you know, I had the parents of neighbors, the dads of neighbors who were really into it. Like it was not just, you know, awkward teens in middle school. It was anyone who had kind of a penchant for that style of game was could not be caught up in the hype for Doom. So when Quake was announced and it was previewed and it was going to be the third person, the biggest, the first 3D first person shooter, the hype was immense. Let's just say it was literally the biggest thing in my little world at the time that this was being made. This is dumb. So yeah, I could really use some ammo, guys. Nope. There's some ammo. So, I remember very distinctly in early February. I don't remember when, but I remember it happening. You know, where in time it happened is all nebulous, but it ended up being in early February that they put out Q-Test, which it had put out to various FTP servers and BBSs, and basically said, here is a free copy of the game. Not of the game, sorry. Here is a development build of the game that you've all been waiting for so long. That's been hyped incredibly. Here it is. Help us test it. Help us iron out the bugs to this thing. No one's gonna say no to that. No one's gonna be like, no, I'll wait till it's done. Like, to have basically John Carmack post a plan that says, hey guys, we're putting out a dev build of our game. Come help us test it. You are on that. I remember writing with the floppy disk in hand to my friend's house. Saying, you know, like just pouring over it when we loaded it up. And I figured it was a couple deathmatch levels, and I think maybe. I'm trying to remember if it had any of the single player content in it. I think it was just deathmatch levels. But just the intensity that we poured, that we played the shit out of Q-Test, and there wasn't a ton there, to be honest. It was just, but it was everything we had kind of, you know, quote unquote dreamed of, right? It was fully 3D, and the other, at the time, very exciting thing was, okay, I'm now kind of going in circles. Was the aesthetic of it, right? You know, it wasn't demons, it wasn't hell, it was these gothic castles, right? It was this weird, you know, I hadn't gotten really into Lovecraft at the time, so I didn't really understand. I wasn't really aware of the influences, but it was a Lovecraftian, eldritch inspiration. And that just, it was so fresh to me at the time. It was so new because we had spent all this time essentially, quote unquote, in hell. Seeing something new was just you know, it felt like a revelation, basically, is what I'm saying. Which is maybe a bit of hyperbole and maybe a bit. It sounds weird to say, but that's how it felt at the time, and that might be through the lenses of a younger person who was just more easily excited. But so, okay, now I forget where I'm supposed to go because I'm too busy talking. Where did I end up getting the silver key? From there. Oh, this just opens up. Okay. Yeah, so played a ton of Q-Test, and Q-Test only further kind of stoked the flames of game development interest for me, because not only had I spent all this time learning about kind of how Doom was put together from a game dev perspective, but now we had a development version of a game which had its share of, you know, debug messages and console commands that they, you know, Carmack said to try out, and, you know, it exposed so much of the core engine to us, and again, the way that we hadn't really experienced before. So it just made us more excited. It made me more excited. My friend was at the time was less. He was just happy to be doing stuff, but he was not as excited about game development as I was. Like I was the one bringing the disc over. I was the one saying we should block out, you know, hours to play this. Like I also worried that he would like get annoyed with me because I only wanted to play Quake and play Doom and stuff with him, but whatever. Yeah, so that only made it that much more exciting to be able to kind of get your little mitts on it in its raw form. And yeah, it came out. It was I got my parents to let me pre-order it, which, you know, back then you kind of had to, sort of. It was a thing you ordered in the mail, or you went to the store and bought. But if you, like me, were an id fanboy at the time, you called them, or you sent in a check, and you did the whole thing, or that's how you got Quake. And so my memory of Quake is, from that point forward, kind of twofold. It's playing through the single player campaign. There's actually three major kind of milestones for me that involve Quake. It's playing through the single player campaign and just loving the shit out of it, just loving the aesthetic, loving the creepiness of it. I was a big fan of Nine Inch Nails at the time, so having Trent Reznor do the soundtrack, do the all the sound effects, huge for me. That was like, and I didn't even know it at the time. Like during Q-Test and all that, I don't think that had been announced who had done it. The timing might be off, I forget, but I was just like a cake on top of a cake for me at the time. I was just so thrilled, and I could not believe it. This was, all these things were kind of coming together. All these things that I was huge fans of were coming together in this way. I'm gonna dive on very likely. They would just stop throwing those fucking grenades. So that was my first kind of milestone memory, is playing through the campaigns, loving the aesthetic, loving the atmosphere, the spooky castles, and the bases in the first parts, and second part I remember is, I don't remember when they released. So they didn't release the source, the engine. They released what's called QCC, and I could be misremembering. I haven't looked at this stuff in a while. But QCC, in my memory, is they released what would be essentially an API, or not really an API. It would be the source files for a bunch for the weapons, how the weapons worked, and how the enemies behaved. So essentially, these were extensions that you could kind of modify. There were classes. If you're familiar with how programming works for C++ and C, there were classes. They released the classes for the various weapons and enemies and stuff. So you could actually, you could open them and learn how they worked, which for burgeoning nerd / programmer / game developer me, just ambrosia. It was divine. I actually printed them out because I wanted to study them, and I had binders and binders of C++ code because I didn't quite I could read and understand C++. I wasn't really writing it at the time because I hadn't really it's one of the more complicated languages. It takes a bit more understanding to kind of bang it out. But I hadn't got to the point of writing C++, but I was able to, I wasn't in the place to write my own. I was in the place to understand it, though. I could very easily parse it and make my own, which is kind of where this is going, is that because they released these classes, you could replace them with your own versions of these classes. So you could change or add your own. You could add your own weapons just with some text files. You didn't even have to compile it. You didn't have. Well, actually, I think you had to compile the classes. But the instructions were very simple. It was you didn't need you didn't need a copy of any developer program or IDE or anything. You just had the text files, and there was a bit of guidance from Carmack and all on what did what. They were commented pretty well, but again, to me at the time, this was revolutionary. And I spent so much time messing with the Quake engine, making maps and campaigns. I never released any of this stuff, and I'm sure if I went back and looked at it, I would not want to share it. But I just churned out content for it, and like I said, most of it, as I recall, was not great. But I was learning, right? I was, kind of mixing all my loves together, and all the things that I had been learning and growing to learn, all in one place. So yeah, Quake is a huge part of my personal history as a game enthusiast and a game developer. So I got to the point where I was even modified the engine enough where I was using Quake as a synthesizer. I would program a bunch of WAV files into it and bind them to keys and map those keys onto the arrangement of notes on a keyboard. And I was just, again, I never released this because there was not really a platform to release it. I would have had to post it on my GeoCities site and hope that I was part of some Quake ring. Search engines were very rudimentary. There was no Google at this point, or if it was not really on the radar. This was kind of the beginning-ish of Google, so maybe there was, but it wasn't quite the powerhouse in terms of search engines. So aside from telling my friends, hey guys, I made this thing, which most of them wouldn't understand because I would have to explain, oh, it's a game I play, oh, it's a mod I made for it, oh, it's a map I made. That they just couldn't parse that because I would need to explain basically what I've explained to you just now. And they would have to care because they were in high school, which, might not happen as much. But yeah, I really got into Quake 1 development. The mission packs came out and they were okay. We played through them on the stream recently. We played through both of them and explored them, and they were fine. That's the sound of a portal up there or something. Interesting. So yeah, long story short, well, not long story short, but to sum up my long rambling, Quake 1 is very important to me, just both nostalgia wise and personal development wise, it's a big part of my life. So 22 years ago today, I was probably playing this at night on my 486, like the family 486, but I used it the most. Probably staying up when I shouldn't have been. You know, as kids do. I mean, it got to the point, my obsession got to the point where the Quake soundtrack was in my sleeve of CDs that I would carry around, because the CD that the game came on, tracks 9 through whatever, 10, 11, were the soundtrack that we're listening to now, actually. So I would roll around with my friend in his, God, what car was that? It was whatever. It was his dad's car. Blasting the Quake soundtrack, which is mostly ambient. So he really only wanted to listen to like the first track, which is the kind of the classic one with guitars and stuff. And then I'd be like, let's keep listening to the soundtrack, because I just love this game so much at that point that so let's just bang out these soundtracks while we're driving around, you know, tiny podunk Midwest town. And he's like, nah, he was really into that. Okay, so clearly we need to move this thing. There we go. So yeah, Quake 1 has been there for me. It's a reason I make games now, and why I play a ton of games now, and why I fall down 3 layers through the ground. So I'm happy to celebrate its birthday. And I think normally around this time is when I do my yearly playthrough of the game, but I've done that on this very stream over the past month or so, ahead of the curve. Spiders dropping the things. So this is I like what this level's trying to do so far. I'm not sure. I guess we'll see where it goes. And it's doing this kind of Alps / not Alps, the like Himalayan / mine, like underground mine sort of thing, which is kind of interesting. Maybe him jump off this cliff. Yep, bye! Fool. Looked off the screen and almost fell off. Da-da-da-da. Yep. I wanted to switch this. That's just taking too much damage. That's taking too much damage. That's hurting myself. I'm gonna reload that. Reload that. No, seriously. What am I hitting all of a sudden? Oh, it's the ledge. Why would I do that? That's just dumb. I'm trying to escape. Oh, this one's up here too. God damn. And that's all it's up there. one survivor came out to try and, or one knight came out to try and deal with this. Oh, this is just missing. I like this Asian sort of Himalayan Indian sort of thing they're doing. It's very cool. Not sure if I can get over there yet. I don't think so. Can I get that way? Oh, this is. I already came this way. Didn't I go? Pretty sure I did. Path is not immediately clear, which is cool. As long as we get kind of payoff for our exploration. That's really what I look for in level design is some payoff, and I don't mean payoff in terms of like ammo or weapons or whatever. Just another neat thing to look at for going out of my way to look at something. You know, like here, you know, here's a little corridor that you may have walked past. What's down here? Oh, I don't know, maybe a weird little library or just something. You know, just when it's a blank wall, you're just like, well, shit. I don't feel like this was worth my time. And if they happen to throw a little ammo on your way for your trouble, then all the better. But yeah. So we've made ourselves a giant circle, which is great, but we didn't really progress anything. We don't really have. Just have this chump chucking grenades at us from over here. I don't know how we get over. I thought maybe this would be like a path that would loop around, but doesn't seem to be the case. Got some floating rocks, which is a little creepy. That's the first time we've seen that in this map. Okay. Oh, sure. Oh, that beam is not thick enough to support LSing him around. If I can get him to hurt the Shambler, we can fuck him up. Oh, just, okay. Oh, this is gonna hurt him. Yeah, I'm dead. Now that we know he's in there. One bad grenade there. Oh god, this is. No, I don't want to go back around. I'm just gonna quick save, quick load that. This is a very cool. This is neat. This is very well done. It's a. They've been playing with this motif throughout the level so far, and now we're getting a very cool reward for getting up top. Yeah, that's awesome. That's the sound of me grenading myself to death. The gate. It's big ways. Oh, that's cool. I like they do a little, like the little chain moving as the gate lifts. It's a nice touch. Things they don't have to do that makes, that sells it that much, just a little more. The clunks of spiders. Oh god. We were supposed to quad damage here, which, you know, based on different level design. Okay, we have to engage. I was worried. I thought maybe we could get around it, but okay, maybe not the rocket launcher to start. Damn. Yeah, this is a difficult one because 4 of them, they all basically are shooting rockets at me. That's cool. It's, you know, it's the Half-Life clause of you see a crate, you see a barrel, you break it, you blow it up. Is this a proper ladder? Man, that wasn't always here, right? We just didn't blindly miss this. Hope not. We're really dumb if we did. Okay, I'm feeling a little better. What's the plan here? We got 4 of these fuckers. Using grenades is not the smartest, but not... Oh, so we can kind of... so much damage from all of them. There's really not a lot of pillars to line of sight them around, unfortunately. Damn it. I had it too. Okay, I like tough. I like tough when it's doable, when it's fair. Get that gold key. Well, they did not. They were Rick coming out to see what was going on there. Oh, that's embarrassing. Getting killed by a crossbow knight is a new low. So, my notify. Okay. Never mind. My follower notify has the same sound as your pretty much. No, shouldn't be wasting. Take a risky quick save. Should not get up in his face. Nor should I do that. It's a skull wizard, is the name of the one. Which is fair. Well, he is fully in my face. Woo! Phew. I really like most of the enemies that Arcane Dimensions adds are actually very interesting to engage with. There are a few that are duds, but the ogres with hammers are very cool. They kind of, if you get too close, they can kind of knock you back. The skull wizards are kind of neat. They teleport around. I don't like the ones that make lost souls, but you know, beggars can be choosers. We get the Widowmaker here, variably to take on this master golem sort of thing. Yep. These guys are a pain in the dick because they're basically shooting 3 rockets worth of rocks at you. Oh, it was an enemy for a second. That's just now I'm falling off this. I'm doing it. Wake up. Yeah, I'm kind of wasting shots there because he's not an enemy for the animation. So wake up. Oh, you're right. Okay, real life boy. God damn. Give me some health here, man. Little starved for health right now. Whoa. That's an interesting texture, or particle effect. Slash polygon that's going through an animation. What the hell? Well, some shit's going down in this chamber. Oh boy. That's a big one. That's a big boy. Is he gonna shoot rockets or is he... Oh, he's shooting some sort of sonic laser beam at me. Okay. There's some cave-ins happening. Alright. I could really go for some health right now. Oh, fuck. An ice golem is his name. An ice golem is his thing. Got really stingy on the health packs here, guys. Just those two for this entire boss encounter. Let's try actually hitting him with grenades, what do you say? No? Okay. Health does respawn. We kind of been talking about that mechanic because that's been used in other Arcane Dimension maps that will help respawns, and in boss encounters, I think we're okay with it. It does make it a little easier. This is a big boy. I like this kind of cave-ins though, and that these pillars. Oh, I don't like that. Yeah, I can get him to hurt him. Oh, don't stand still. Don't stand still. Focus on health. So just adding. Is it just going to keep adding these? I guess all these doors are opening, so there's a finite number of these enemies. The biggest threat is still the guy in the middle. Do a risky save there. Getting a little low on ammo. Oh, there's a bunch in the middle there. I want to pick that up. Well, this isn't a thing where I have to kill the enemies to kill him, because I've been mostly focusing on him, because he is the biggest threat right now. No, don't stop. I think some of this ammo in the middle might be respawning though. It's another one of those guys. Alright. These golems are my new nemesis though. Not the ice one, he's a boss, but the ones what shoot rockets out. That's the sound effect, please. Don't stop. Yeah, the packs didn't do respawn. So golem down. Big golem down. Bunch of good. Risky save. I see you, you're very beautiful. We've seen a few of these sort of horde slash endurance encounters in Arcane Dimensions. Quite a bit, actually. Most of them seem to have been having this sort of, yeah, it looks like it's more or less the end. Having this be kind of the apex of the level. Okay. Is there anything else I can look at before we go? This is probably one of my favorite, just geometry-wise and architecture-wise, levels that we've seen in Arcane Dimensions. This just looks and is textured and lit very well. It's a very visually interesting and dynamic map that I have not seen in a Quake engine like anything done like this before. It's very cool. I'm very impressed with the level designers who worked on this. Okay, let's head to the exit. Took us 34 minutes 22 seconds in real time. That does not count all of the times we spent talking / saving. So that will bring us to, let's see here. That was Azad. We liked Azad. Azad was cool. So Azad is complete. And the other one we will do tonight will be Tifuma. Terror Fuma. Sounds Latin. Okay, we're at the appropriate skill level. Something we haven't seen in a while. The first mission we played, Crucial. I forget the other word, but it was 80 Crucial. Was a a base, future base. It's all been interesting castles and mines and stuff since then, but we have we're back to a base. No, not even a shotgun to start with. Okay. Things you couldn't do in the original Quake 1 engine. Have a spaceship land on your space station. Okay. Soldiers are fighting off the spiders. We're definitely doing a certain thing here. That's cool. Oh, that actually hurts me in stuff. Them work on each other a little bit before so technically, okay, so that's wise, they're both. You gotta give me a shotgun, guys. This is not. I like the updated button textures; those look cool. They're definitely going for a. It's a one-hit kill, so there's a shotgun. And you could technically, yeah, the shotgun was a placeable item in Quake 1. It never was, right? Because you were every level you just started with it. So. Quake Ranger. What's he got in his back? What is that? The original axe, looks like. So yeah, we're going for an aliens slash. Oh, yeah, I gotta go put the circuit board in there. An alien slash, System Shock. Those are relatively new. The green scorpion things. That's a giant mech. Okay, I think we're ramping shit up here. You shooting? Is that an asshole shooting rockets at me? I'm very much into this, by the way. Leveraging all of the base textures and models and stuff from the what would usually be the oh, actual health kits. So they were replaced at throughout the game by the other stuff. But that was a thing. So I think this decreases the... Would I get to fight this thing, or is this just a thing that just sits there and will eventually start shooting me? I'm not entirely clear what the sharpshooter does. Because it didn't exist before, it's clearly going to hurt me. I don't know why I'm green. I still have the protection. So am I just poisoned? What's happening? Is that a respawning biosuit? Maybe. So that is almost certainly a sound clip from System Shock 2 that the individual used in Army. Didn't understand. I left. Okay, so same sort of enemy palette as in Crucial, which is the first map we played in this case. The different kinds of soldiers plus the drones that would harass us. I wonder if Crucial was kind of like the they like made that first and then like make a level. Make another one of these, and this is... it burns. Burns us. I know it's not intentional, but I love that the spiders walk around and it sounds like they have heels on. It's like, or he has shoes on all looks like 6 legs. Maybe, yeah, there's 8 legs in. Okay. Green slime texture, very Doom. Not really sure why they would have a regenerating pad just hanging out in the middle of this thing, but I'll take it. Come on, I'm hitting them. Kind of Half-Life-esque, actually. What? I'm still causing a fuss down there. So there's a bunch of these mechs just chilling out with these force fields around them. have the circuit board. So yeah, very cool way to have the ogre enemy appear in these levels, but not as an ogre because that would be out of flavor. To have an enemy who, I don't know if he has a chainsaw. Maybe he's not functionally identical to the ogre, but he certainly provides a similar kind of weapon thing to worry about. So we have one of our circuit boards. We'll just, yeah, those things are going to so come alive and so start shooting me. There's a quad damage down there. A lot of things. Okay. I don't want the quad right now because they're not alive and thus not a threat. I should save it for when they're going to be shooting at me. I guess we need to take this and go down there and see what happens. Very little is happening here. I'm not going to grab the quad right now unless that causes them to wake up. But at least I'm grabbing it for them. And here's the bots. Okay. I mean, that... Oh, that causes that too. I see. I want this ammo for wolf. But what did that do for us? A lot of the Arcane Dimension levels have this... problem, but have the situation where you go in, you complete an encounter, and you're like, okay, now what? And you're not entirely sure if what you just did moves you forward, or, you know, unlocks something for you, or, you know, any number of questions. Generation expired. Those things. Nails on. Okay, well, this is the closest one I had, so. Could agonize about which one to use, but. I'm not using grenades right now. Alright, the disc jockeys, for lack of a better term. Fucked. Got punched to death by that robot. I don't know what turns them on, if you know what I mean. I just don't know why I occasionally get these health regen God, the flaming guys. It's happening again. I don't know what causes that. I saw it in a few other maps. I think it's a thing I'm picking up. The frenzy? I don't know. The adrenaline from the poison? It's unclear. They've not really been forthcoming with shredding. I'm not ready to ride that ride yet. So yeah, just a quick check on the enemies. 85 and 245. We have a ways to go. It's a nice way to. These maps definitely let you. It's a great gauge of how far you are in the level. In the Quake campaign, not so much because you might not. Thunk when they flop down. Alright, well, follow your instructions. Hi! One of the first, if not the first actual... Don't use that on those. Appearance of the lightning gun in AD, Arcane Dimensions. I very rarely give it out. Those fiends are a little sick looking. They got little green spots on them. They're not well. Thanks. Thanks for taking care of that. I do like the kind of sickly, what they've... Yeah, that's basically lava that's been rehued to kind of a sickly green, but it works. The slime is kind of a different texture, but anyway. The secret door. What Arcane Dimensions does do quite a bit of are these encapsulated engagements where they're kicked off by a trigger. You grabbing a quad or you grabbing a thing. Is, I guess, a more modern way of doing it. Instead of just being a thing that you... having troubles up there. Having troubles. Scorpion troubles up there. Loop back around. Yeah. Widowmaker is very satisfying to use, especially against humans. We do have this other circuit board to place. I forget where this went. This is at least a little easier to navigate than Crucial was, at least initially. Don't have any keys yet, though. Where did that other circuit board go? It went there. Whoa. Still powered off. Oh right, we're trying to restore the reactor. That's an ominous. And also, lots of Arcane Dimensions maps are doing this thing where enemies are either respawned or not. They're not actually respawned, but they're spawned into an area that you had already cleared after you've triggered something. But we're seeing that quite a bit throughout all the different maps. Which I'm a little iffy on. So, you know, once you clear out an area, I'm not entirely iffy on it. I see the value that it, you know, makes those areas dangerous again that you think you've cleared. Lets them reuse the level space again. But you hear them kind of teleporting in, like you hear the all the time as they get deployed after you hit the trigger. Yeah, I get it. It's that was a long goddamn fall. It works. I'm still kind of just chewing it over as I play here. I think there's somebody up there. Suddenly forgot how we even got up there. This do we? I do know, do we? That's where we came from. That's the starting point. Ew. Gross. And there's... No? That's usually a trigger. I'm surprised. Usually grabbing a key in Arcane Dimensions gets everything pissed at you. Again, not complaining. Just... routine. Oh boy. Oh, we got a spider. Walking around in his boots. Stomping along happily. I definitely like this better than Crucial so far. Just Crucial was very cool, but it didn't feel as cohesive as this. This feels like a strong idea. Which Crucial just kind of started to feel like here's a bunch of base stuff. Not playing it. It's still a lot of fun. I enjoy Crucial. Oh, this is all one central area that I've been roaming around. Okay. Where was the... Gold key force fields. Let's try to land on that thing. Because over there where the really mech is. Can I hop over there? Probably. Hooray. No? Alright. You? It is a little, I will say, in terms of the spawning, triggering of enemies, it feels kind of slightly arbitrary. At least it has for these mechs. That I don't know what will start them. Other than which, being wary of every trigger period that might do it. Not that they're bosses and they're scary or anything. It's just, it's a little clunky to be like, but these things just start being active without even an in-flavor reason for it. That's a cool looking tank. Again, I am not a fan. I don't know. These things that keep getting triggered on quads, which are like, okay, start the encounter now. Instead of it feeling like a thing you find that you can use when you're ready for it. Or when you want to engage with it. Come on. I know he's right there. Alright, it's for the quad. Just like everything popping off, you know, it just feels kind of, it's scripted. It feels a lot more scripted than I think I would like. You silly spiders, don't you know I had the quad damage? This shot rockets a few times, but what? I guess I can hop down there. Jump on times. Sure. Oh, the Chandler fighting this thing. Murder Shamler? Well, he was a sick from Shamler, so I wasn't terrified. Yeah, he was a sick boy. Also like how the health packs here are akimbo. They're kind of placed at an angle. Did it. Decent amount of ammo. A little damage. probably just can't walk through that. I'm gonna go out. Hold on and say 185 and 245. Getting close to the end, sort of the end. Usually a 20 to 30 enemy window or buffer of things we miss or don't trigger. Take damage probably. Reactor key. Oh, so I can start the reactor now. Yeah, that's totally a system shock sound. I mean, it's a good thing to pull from. Those mechs are just... How can I not be swinging over shortly? There's one of them. Nope. Oh, still there. We are not going to have the health to deal with these very same. And tying progression to things dying also feels it reveals itself as highly scripted, which whatever, as things go is fine, but. Engage the reactor laser. Oh, that's just the end. Okay. That is slash was Terrafuma. So we can go back to our very official, very exciting progress text. So it is interesting to note that the first four, Crucial Mountain, OBD, and Swampy, were about an hour each. Took us about an hour to get through those. Not even really counting all the secret stuff we wanted to find. The other ones so far, DM1, Levatoon, Necrokeep, Azad, and Tifuma, have been about half an hour, roughly. So they're still a lot of fun. The only one I wasn't a huge fan of was Lavatomb, and that was because I had a cheat to actually get past it. Felt there were some balance issues there, but I really like the architecture of Azad. There's some map design we hadn't really seen before, and I liked like the layout and to me the better use of the base tech from Crucial that Tifuma did. So at this rate, if we do 2 a day, 2 a session, we'll have 2, 4, 6, 8, 5 more streams, and we'll have seen all there is to see in Arcane Dimension. But that's gonna do it for our stream tonight. Happy birthday, Quake! 22 years old, making me feel. I was in high school when this happened, so I'll let you crunch the numbers. Anyway, thanks for hanging out if you were, or watching this on demand. Appreciate you checking it out, and we'll see you next time.